Hello. Let's see. There we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to August 2019. Light the way. I am so happy you're here. Excuse me. Itchy. So our first Wednesday of August 2019. And there's such an energy now that we've kind of shifted through July. July was a heavy month, I think, for everyone. And in my favorite, listening to various kinds of plugins to what the energy is like for August, one thing I recently heard is that August 2019, this time is North Node in Cancer. I think that's what it was. And it only happens every 19 years. So this particular August and this energy right now, especially tomorrow for the Lion's Gate opening fully, being completely open, and just all the things we've been through for the first half of the year, and especially the intense energy we just had in July, we are definitely in a strong and potent energy. It's the kind of energy where we can change the trajectory of the possibilities that we are. I gotta take this off. It's clanking. Change the possibilities of the trajectory. Change the trajectory of the possibilities and that we are moving into about what we want to set up for our life for quite some time, in that kind of time frame of the idea of 20 years, 19 years. And I like to talk about energy on this call, especially since we're doing it as a monthly call, because of how it is we're all surfing these times, and they are super, super intense. And I think that the more people I talk to and the more I go through my own life experiences, and then I look out into the world, and then I do my own healing, and I focus back in on my interior growth, and I focus back in on how it is that I can best expand, because I feel like we are so blessed to be living at this time. Though it's really, really hard for sure, it's also a time where the possibilities, the potentials, the life-changing trajectory that we can do both for our own lives and for the collective is huge. And so I was sort of preparing this morning as I was getting ready, as my personal life is such in a fluxing state right now, and I'm dealing with a lot. And so all the things that I'm having to juggle and navigate, just in the logistical of where I'm living or staying, because my house is under construction, and all the things that are shifting, what it takes now to pay attention to our own feelings of what it is that we are done with. That's another piece of what is happening right now. As we set up this idea for the month ahead, for August, which is what really this monthly call is for, is how do we, get our downloads, get in an alignment, be going through life at the highest possible levels of our own interior transformation, which then spills out into the world. Well, in that idea, we have to let go of things in order to grow, right? We have to let go of the old in order to bring in the new, to create the space for what is to come. And my life is for sure direct reflection of that right now in so many ways. And at times in our life, it's harder to let go than other times. I feel my experience has been that. Sometimes I'm just let it all go. And I'm it's easier to do so. And then there's other times where it's just it's tighter. It feels more difficult. There's a lot more resistance. And right now, though, because of the Lion's Gate energy portal, which, I don't really always get into the particulars of these things. As you guys know, I really don't always, I don't do the research and like try to give you and be the expert of those things. I've got too many other things I'm trying to do. And but what I do know about the Lion's Gate is it's the energies of Leo. It's also in this time of Cancer. So we're really focused on the inward and the sort of the family, the ancestral lines. It has to do with Sirius in the star systems and how the Orion's belt lines up, and then Sirius connects to our Earth, and basically we touch into the galactic center, and then energetically that just creates a big opening of energy to flow into our Earth. And the Egyptians built the pyramids really, like, not only for this, but hugely everything is aligned to Sirius and the Orion's belt, and all of this energy kind of coming down. And I also came across a video that said that they believe that the Sphinx is older than the entire pyramids, and that was built during the time of Leo for this Lion's Gate portal. So there's a lot of information out there that you can totally, dive into and go down plenty of rabbit holes about. But I just wanted to, gently touch the surface of that because I'm liking it. I'm definitely, I've been aware of the Lion's Gate for many years, but I never really, accessed the information and didn't really say, oh, let me harness that information so that I harness the energy. Well, I kind of felt like that this year because everything was so crazy. And I was like, I'm going through such a transformation that I was like, what is the main points of this? And I'm sure this will somehow tie in with our channeling today. But the potent, strong, like available energy that is downloading, it's already been happening I can't remember when it started, at the end of July, 28th-ish, I think. And so it just grows every day and it just opens more and more and more. And tomorrow is when the full Lion's Gate is open. So, and then it goes open and stays open through the 12th. And then that's when it starts to literally like shut down and turn away. So in that idea, my thoughts this morning were, what am I really absolutely done with? It kind of came up last night and yesterday. I just came to these places inside myself where I'm like, I am so done with certain things in my life. I'm done with certain behaviors in myself, my own patterns of thinking. I am definitely done with certain things outside of myself that I see in other people's, in the situations that I'm in relationship with, or the connections. I mean, even going down to my children, I'm like, I am so done with that pattern that you do with me. So I'm just saying that we look at what is working and what is not working, what we're really sick and tired of and what we're really done with. And so when you have an absolute doneness with something, I'm going to suggest, because I'm going to do the same thing between now and tomorrow and probably a couple days after, is really being aware of what I'm done with. And I'm actually going to be writing that down and declaring that and making it a kind of a declaration of intention that I'm done with that. And I'm open to whatever it is that is not that, right? In certain senses, it's sort of the contrary opposite of the thing that I'm done with. So, but to also include that, and this is how I often say it, I just think I've shared this with you all, but this or even better, I'm open to this so much better and this so much more, and in any way greater than even I can see. So that puts it in an open potential, an open possibility of the creation that we are aligning ourselves to. And, I want to tell you also that I'm really grateful you're on this call live. I'm really grateful you're listening to this transmission in the replays, that you go back and listen to all the replays whenever you feel like it, because really the process of our evolving is a continual state of willingness to be in this place, to be looking at ourselves, to be transforming, to be willing to let go of the things that are not serving us anymore. And I mean, I think human beings tend to to feel that that's sometimes just super hard, and that's okay. And then there's other times where it feels a lot easier. So, moving with the energies right now can feel different. I've been talking to a number of people in my world, in my life, my clients, things like this. And I mean, it's a tight spot right now. We have moved through the tightest spot of July. Now we should start to feel a little bit more empowerment with the energies, a little bit more of the movement forward, a little bit more of like, yes, okay, I made it through all that. I mean, if I can make it through all that, I can keep going and growing now. And that's how I'm putting my mind around this time, and how it is that we are collectively waking up too. There is such a, I was starting to watch something last night on Netflix, and I was just like, wow, it's such a heavy time for humanity. We are going through the major shift. And I think that when we look around the world and we see the things that are happening in the world, and how much, overall, there's a lot of suffering and a lot of pain and a lot of difficulty and a lot of challenge, I think a greater challenge is to remember that there's also a lot of really great stuff. But yes, we are going through collectively, humanity-wise, we are just going through so much change. And it's easy to get really cynical, and it's easy to get really, in a certain sense, depressed. I was having a conversation with someone last night about how, he was saying that sometimes at times when the difficulty comes in and he's facing things and looking at the things, that he's like, that actually just turns inward on him and he feels depressed. And I said, well, I really understand that. Did that a huge amount of my own life. And what I came to find in myself was that those were unexpressed emotions, and that there was energy that needed to move out of me. And that depression is literally the repression, the depressing of energy and emotions that were unexpressed in me. And so that was a kind of response to the overall feeling too, about how difficult it can be. By looking out into the world, we see the things that are happening, however it is that they are occurring. We just see the result of the things, whether or not it was a planned operation, or it was, something random, or it's happening in your own lives or your family's lives with specifics, health and healing, emotional well-being, however that is, financial, all the things that come up for us at these times are really pushing us to grow and have faith and trust, and not to depress our emotional life. Because I have found that my greatest liberation comes from the releasing of the stuff that I am holding on to, and the freedom that I can find through expression and giving myself the energy that moves that stuff out. But when I stay stuck with it, man, I think that's where we all become crazy. I think that's where we become, in a sense, mentally ill, because we just keep pushing it down and pushing it down. We're not meant for that. We are meant to be free, and we are meant to express and release and clear and purge off that which does not need to be here any longer. And I think if all of this planet was doing that, we would be having a very different experience, but we're having to learn that now. So, the other side of this is that I want to say is, as I always say, and I feel like Osiris says this, I feel like the Divine Feminine in all their various ways are saying the same thing. I know Osiris says it a lot. And I do this, is that even when I'm aware of the intensity and the hardship of this kind of walk of the transformation of the planet and our consciousness collectively, and the timelines that, I want to, if I'm coming back, I want to come back to great timelines. I want to have done the work so good here now that I get to step into some really amazing living experience on Earth. And so one of the things I do is what they say to do so often is I really look at the beauty, even when I am like in a crisis or internally feeling, just raked over the coals or completely in confusion and not knowing what to do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I take myself outside and I look around day or night. And I'm not kidding, because I walk late at night. I walk at midnight a lot of the times, walk my dog. And I just give so much appreciation for the world, for the earth, for the stars, for the trees, for the birds I hear at night or in the day, or the butterfly I was seeing in my backyard today that was so orange. Like, I just give so much love and appreciation for literally getting to be on the earth now. And when you come face to face with your own mortality over and over again in various ways, you start to understand how precious it all is. So that even though there are these hardships and there are these ways that we are transforming, and there are systems that need to break down, and there is stuff that has to happen for us to collectively agree and move into a higher vibration on this planet, we still can experience goodness. We still can experience beauty and the sacredness for being alive. And so, contrasting that we have these really challenging times right now, and maybe humanity always has. Okay, and even amongst all of the challenges and the war and all of the things that have happened to people and the earth and animals and the consciousness on this planet, simultaneously we have the beauty, the ecstasy, the purity of love and truth and wisdom and goodness and kindness and heartfelt caring of others and the world and animals. So we have it all here. And I just wanted to bring it back together. And that's another beautiful thing, is like when we put it back together here, the masculine and the feminine, the masculine, the divine way that this interplay is happening is that we have the shadow and we have the light. We have the experience of the ecstasy and the horrificness of being human. And in that way, I just hope that, as you are moving through this month and as you are feeling more and more like, I hope, liberated and freer and more open and willing to ingest the goodness, as you are releasing what you no longer want to live like. Because that question that sometimes comes up, or it's offered by Osiris so often, and I have taken it on to ask it all myself too, because of all the things that I've gone through in my life. I say, so if I only had 5 months or 5 years left, and I usually go to that idea of if I have only 5 years, 15 years, what if I only have 15 years left on the earth? What do I want to live like? How do I want my character of being to be? What do I want to feel in the process of being a human being on this planet at this time? And the rest of it is okay, and there's the unknown of but then what happens after, and what's the real truth, and all of that. We can go into that separately as a whole other realm to dive into. But for now, just being connected on the earth to our process of being in this embodiment, so beautiful and so powerful. So how to live? Because if you are spending, and if I'm spending day after day after day in the struggle, the strife, the negativity, oh my God, look at it all out there. Look at them. Look at this. Look at that. Why isn't it better? It's so bad. It's so bad. I mean, Jesus, I don't want to spend my life like that. So I do some of that for sure. But then I pull myself back in and I say, how do I give the best here? How do I be the best here? How do I grow and ascend inside myself to the higher degrees that the energies of this earth offer me? And so that's what I wanted to leave with you for your own kinds of questions as we're moving through August. What is it that you are absolutely done with? Really ask that question on every level. There's certain things in my life that I am done with in patterns. And there's certain things that I became aware of in June and July because of the energies that were up for my ancestral and childhood, really early childhood patterns, or even birth and in my mother's womb awarenesses to like, whoa, I think I've been carrying that for all of this life. And I think I'm really ready to let that go, but I had to become aware of it. So being really, really aware of what it is that you are facing, that you're just done with. And then what does it mean to be in the next phase of your own empowerment? What does that look like? What, now that you're creating space and you can find new ways to let that go. And some of the things to do to let things go, to be aware of it, is to write it down, say, I'm done with this, and declare it and decree it, write it down, give honor. You might want to burn that piece of paper. You might want to tuck it in and then burn it in the next full moon, which I think is on the 16th. I think it's around the 16th. I didn't check, but I think that's right. And, do some breath work, do clearing out your body. Another really great way is to move the energy, is to do some exercise, do some walking, do some deep breathing and some chanting, some, new ways of expressing the energy to release those things. So sometimes when I go for my walks, and I will say a prayer, and then I will go into the walk and I will say, I'm walking off this frustration, this rage, this anger, this sadness. I'm walking it off. I'm clearing it from my body, mind, and my heart. And so these are just, simple tools that you can incorporate and bring into this next month as you are pulling in what it is you all want to be in creation with. Considering that this portal of the Lion's Gate is sort of setting up these next 6 months, that we are going in 6 months or so, we'll be in a new, really intense eclipse cycle in January of 2020, is what I have been hearing from all the astrologers. So energy wise, we are, lighting the way within our own hearts and our own minds and our own bodies, and connecting that into this particular energetic grid that we are in on the earth at this time. So it's all working together. There's nothing wrong here. It's all exactly as it's supposed to be. And that's another thing that I remind myself of. I'm like, okay, so I can do all these things. I can be all these things. I can change these things. I can release these things. I can become anew. I can die and be born again. I can do the practices. I can be of service. I can rise up and be the best self I can be constantly, as much as I can, even though some days I feel like I'm just a piece of shit on the floor and it's awful. Okay, that's real. And then I also know that as I keep rising up, I do the work, and then things change, and that it's all perfect as it's supposed to be. That even if I think I'm not doing it right, even if I think, God, I'm not getting anywhere, it's still the same shit. Ultimately, everything really is on time. You just putting more attention to these things, I think, transmutes it in a certain fashion, sort of quicker, I guess you could say, or we become more aware of it. So we tune in to that frequency of the energy in the system, So there's what I have for you all today. And I am excited for our download and our channeling connection right now. Laura is able to be here where we can hear each other. So I want to check on that. Laura, can you hear me and can I hear you? Yes. Okay, great. So the reason I wanted to check that is because there's some of you who might have a question or two today. And if they open that option up, then we have that ability now we've figured it out and it's working. So if you have a question today and they ask for it, you would type it in on the right, Laura? So why don't you explain to everybody in case there's somebody on here who doesn't know how to do that. Okay, great. Thank you. So don't see anybody saying, hi, you're here. If you want to let us know you're here, appreciate that. But I can see the that you're here. So many of you are here, and I know that tons of you are not able to be online. Sometimes it's the middle of the week thing. It's the summertime. So, I'm grateful you're listening live, and I'm grateful you're listening to the replay. So thank you. So I guess we'll get started. And yeah, the chat. No, I'm not. Are you? Let me go there. Oh, there it is. Hi, Kathy. Okay, so you guys were already there. Thank you, ladies. And you can't hear. Lilia, can you hear now? I hope you can hear now. Anyway, so I think she was saying can't hear. Can't hear Laura. Well, that's interesting. Interesting. Oh. Uh-huh. So interesting. Okay. Shoot. Well, we thought we had it right. Hi, Stacy. My goodness, that's at least that's good. Yeah, for now. Type it in, and then she'll say it. You'll hear the answer at least if they don't repeat the question, and we'll see how that goes. We'll have to continue to work on this. All right. Super grateful you're here. Okay. So let's begin. And as you can tell, I'm wearing my lion's hair. That's not funny. And my lion shirt. Well, it's not really lion, I guess, but I was in the Lion's Gate mood. All right, my friends. I will see you soon. Indeed, greetings to you, dear ones. We are that one known as Osira, and we are, in fact, overjoyed to be in this alignment with you. We are indeed recognizing you. We are recognizing the way in which this energy is moving between you all and our beloved channel, the way in which their energy is moving through and in connection to the potentiality of meeting hearts and minds. We are recognizing the energetic signature, and we are saying it is a wonderful time indeed to be alive in your earthly grid. We are recognizing the way in which the connection is moving through in consciousness with the languaging. So what we are going to begin with is a kind of footnote to the connection that our beloved channel was speaking about. And what we would say about that is the potency of this timeline now. Shifting energies is a kind of the word, igniting fires all over in the collective agreement. Now, what that begins to look like is a flowing, receiving through hearts and minds that certain things are complete. And those systems, as they are becoming apparent, cannot stand any longer, are, as we have said, actually for many years, making their last bids to keep the stranglehold alive. Now, one of the things we are also recognizing is that in many ways you are sort of battling, if we will say such a difficult word, in fact, battling many energetics. And when you bring yourself back into your heart, when you bring yourself back into the present moment, you shift that which is the battling energies. You shift out of that kind of stream or that thought or that literal frequency that is carrying you towards more of that. So one of the things we would say is, how are you centering in your heart each and every day? How are you paying attention to the present moment? one of the things we are going to suggest to our human friends is a bit of a challenge, and we are bringing a challenge to you this day. One of the things that we know is a great thing that is an opportunity at your timeline now is the way in which you all get to be connected. Even in this moment, we get to be connected to so many people. And then in the replays, as you say, we get to touch even more people in this way. That it is a wonderful technology to be having at this time. So great is that potential. And yet, one of the things we are going to give you as a challenge is to set these devices down, to set aside the kinds of time you are all spending on the frequency bandwidth, which can suck you dry. And we do mean that literally. We mean that it essentially encapsulates your attention and directs your focus. And there is a great, how should we say that? A great energy machine. There is a great feeding that happens through that. One of the things we would say about that is how it does indeed drain you. And more importantly, how it physically affects you because you become drained by the content of that which you are being plugged into. One of the things we would say about that is to literally it's not as if you're not to know about the things happening in the world, but it is to say, pull back and pay attention to how it is affecting you and how much of your life force you are giving that narrative, that energetic system, that event or attraction or events. As you make yourself aware of these things, yes, you can then make a choice to participate in certain energies of healing or to do something on your own accord or to be of service in a certain way. And at the same time, if you stay plugged into these narratives or these machines of direction, and we mean that, they are literally taking your focus, your life force, and your attention and directing it into a funneled system of their desire. And what we mean by they and you and them and others is simply that there are many frequency agendas on this earthly plane. You are all navigating those frequency agendas. In this way, if you attune yourself to higher frequencies, even while looking at what is occurring in your earthly plane in the various places that it is, you can witness these things. Give your energy back into yourself with the higher intentionality for the transmutation of what it is you are seeing, for you not to plug into it in the way where you become the feeding, you become the fed upon. That is a good way to say it. Also, when we see all this, we are saying that those systems are literally, if they don't have your attention, if they don't have the all of the emotional energy that gets funneled into these systems, they will not survive. And this is something that many, many millions of people are now being aware of. And so if that continues to grow and you are all turning your attention towards things like meditation, loving each other, loving yourself, doing acts of service and goodness and kindness into the world, being of support and help, even to someone who is not as bad off as the person down the street, but at least you can start there. Energies of self and other can be supported in a higher degree at these times. So we are offering you this instead of the idea that you're abdicating your own frequency bandwidth and plugging into systems that do not serve you. There are a number of people that we are aware of in this moment who are connected to this, even this moment now, this literal live connection. And in the after play too, where that you don't actually plug into these things. You get the hit, you understand the things are happening, but you don't funnel your intentional energy and be drained by it. Now that is very good. And then we would say, yes, what do you do after with that? Yes, you pay attention to your own physical body, your own harmony and balance, your own good vibrations. It does not mean that you are then setting your head into the sand and like an ostrich covering it up. We are saying that you are aware of what is occurring and you are putting your energy and intention into a greater potentiality for the change that can be on this earth with and if more people putting themselves in that same pot with you will grow the change that you are all calling forward. The majority of people on this planet do not want for the energies that are nefariously abdicating to take control or stay in control. So there is more of you who want the higher light, who want to extend love, who want to see heaven on earth as it is. Now, when we say all these things, we are honoring the fact that each and every person is playing their part. We cannot help but honor that. And here is why. There is a divine order about this planet. There is it is a whole offering. That's a good way to say it. You get everything here, right? And so in that way, you get the choosing. You get the choice point, as we often say. And you are at a great climactic choice point. Where you put your energy literally feeds a new world or the same system. And that is an addictive pattern that most of our human friends tend to have. You will maybe make your strides and you will plug into the greater grid and you will move on into love and you will do the self-practice and the loving attentions. And then there will be a moment or a day or a part of you that says, I can't do that anymore, and fall back into a familiar pattern. The moment you catch that familiar pattern is the moment of opportunity. The moment you check in and you say, oh, but there I go again, that is your potential fire point, choice point opportunity to leap into the new. If you choose not to go back into the familiar, you literally, we will say, we will give it to you like this. Think of it like this. I give myself the opportunity to expand 100-fold. I give myself the opportunity to expand 100 lifetimes ahead. If you want to say it like that, fine. We say, because that will help you bounce out quicker. Don't go back into those familiar old patterns. When you see that you're doing that, make a leap, take the left turn, take the right turn, whatever it is, to shift out of that familiar old way of being and doing. If you have to say, this will offer me 100 lifetimes ahead, then do it and then shift out immediately. Because if you are not feeding that energetic system, it begins to crumble. It begins to lose its power. This is the law, the vibrational frequency of the divine design that is happening on your planet, as is orchestrated by the many, which is the totality of the one. And there is perfect order here. So those beings who are participating in the lower frequency energies have their play. Whatever that is for them as individuals is also connecting into a whole or a bigger piece of the pie. But that pie cannot sustain if more and more and more and more and more and more and more people unplug from that pie. Now, that's not to say that there won't be those diehards who will stay, because that is their actual purpose within this beautiful game. But that doesn't mean that that piece of the pie is going to overtake the entirety and stay on course as of the sort of agenda that that piece would have. And so, again, you have the choice point at this time. It is so potent for you to make choices and decisions about where it is you are truly heading. And here is the big, beautiful, really golden, sunshiny part of it all. At this time, you are being upgraded. You are being leveled up. You are being infused with light. It will and can feel extraordinarily empowering. The word we like, our beloved channel has been saying quite often, is this piece on regards to the word liberation. You can liberate yourself from those old strangleholds so much more easy now, because there's an energy for it. So take hold of that. Take hold of that energy. Say, yes, I take that into myself and I empower and liberate myself, because now I can feel the fuller expansiveness of what it is I am here serving, what it is that I am here offering, what it is I am here attuning to. And now at this time, there is that influx, that opening, that energetic expansion, dreams, downloads, interpretations, intuitions, synchronicities, internal guidance. All of these things are working at high velocity at this time for your favor in that expansion, in that liberation, in that way of that which you are seeking within yourself is going to be showing up in your play in the grand design for you to have as the marker points for your choice point. So take that in. Allow yourself the opportunity to expand. Allow yourself to say, my familiar pattern when these things are happening, or around this time, or around these people, or when this happens, or my bank account gets this low, or the familiar pattern comes up with my health, or any of these things when he says or she says this or that. My familiar pattern in response to those things is this. The moment you see that, energetically, you have the choice point at your fingertips. You have the choice point at your feet. You have the opportunity to pivot. It is a choice point of major and massive pivoting forward. It is a kind of new day you walk into. And so we want to infuse that in our conversation with you today, the empowerment of that choice point. That if you choose in a new way and then continue to see that it is being offered to you, you create the new habit, the new alignment, the new frequency shift, the new way of now I face this way, as opposed to I always face this way, I always face this way, I always face this way. You face this way, dear ones, and you move forward. Energetically, this will infuse you with new sight, new heart expansion, new body consciousness. And then you just get to be in that. Take that day by day. Grow it a little bit more each day. Be in your reverence. Be in your practice. Be in your love. Be in your light. Knowing that you are serving your highest purpose right where you stand in the expansion of your lifetime. This is a great opportunity. And so we see these things as the offerings that we wanted to share with you this day, the way in which you are assimilating at this time. So one of the things that you are doing as well is when you come to the awareness of that which does not serve you any longer, you have to ingest that idea. You have to become aware of it. You have to catch it, as we said before. You catch that moment. You cannot catch it if you are not being truly present with yourself. If you are always abdicating your own personal responsibility, if you are always self-sacrificing, if you are always doing unto and for others before you ever do unto and for yourself, you cannot see these things within and for yourself. You will literally not see them. You become unaware. You are asleep at the wheel internally, so you cannot see, oh yeah, there's a choice point right there. You cannot see it because you're giving yourself away over and over again, or you are siphoning off and letting the narratives or the influence or the machines or the energy of the day to direct you. Boy, are you at the whim of some other external thing if you are doing that. So we are asking you to bring yourself back to those choice points by being extraordinarily present. The presence of presence, as we often say, is vital. It means literally, how do you pay attention in the moment? In the moment, bringing yourself very clearly and directly back into the space of your being. What is it you're hearing in the experience of the life you are in? What is it you are seeing in the experience of the life you are having in the moment? What is it you are attuned to? This requires deep introspective connection. So by being this deep introspective connection, you become aware of how you feel. And when you become aware of how you feel, you become aware of what you are plugging into. And these are the steps and the ways in which being of presence, in the presence of the moment of your living, you then attuned to what it is you like, you don't like, what you want, what you don't want, how you feel and how you don't feel, how it is that you are making these choice points from that very emotional content. It is vital for you to pay attention to how you feel. That is the direct guidance of the soul, the systems within you that are saying these are the higher lights and the ways. One very tricky bit, though, for our human friends, as we had said before, happens to be when you plug into other things, other agendas, other ideas, other constructs, other frequencies, other bandwidths, your devices, the ways in which you leave the presence of what it is you are feeling and go outside of yourself in a certain sense and distract yourself. How is it that you do that will tell you if you are really being in the moment. So we have given intuitive nudges to our beloved channel, these kinds of ways that we are talking about, that she was talking about. And one of those things was to put the devices down, in fact, unplug quite a bit. In fact, maybe we would say to our beloved channel, your entire business, and we give this as a big smile, big smile, big smile, maybe your entire business, or your entire business, dear ones, does not depend upon being plugged in all the time. And maybe you can be the forerunners to show that. Why we say that is because we can see the trap there, and it is truly a trap. Now, it has worked for many, and it is working still for many, and that is an okay thing to a certain extent. But we would say, look at the truth about those people who are so plugged in all the time, believing that that's the only model and the way in which you can advance your life and in the historical line of the planet at this time. And we would say that is potentially not serving your energetic system for the highest reasons that you have come here. And if you back up, you can be very, 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 very successful and very, 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 very taken care of. And it doesn't have to rely upon the system, the consciousness of that which is feeding something else at the expense of yourself, your life, your spirit, and your soul. These are tidbits we wanted to offer this day, and we are honored as always to be in the alignment. And we've noted, as was the conversation, to connect with you all in this moment and seeing if there are any particular questions. We are excited for this, for it has been some time since we've been able to occur with this on this time, meaning this exchange in the video streaming way. So we are aware of the planetary connections and how it is that you have created, and as mankind, as you could say, has created so much technology. And we will be honored in this moment to use this technology in a positive light in sharing our space with you in this moment in the frequency of connection for questions. Shall we begin? Are there any questions, dearest ones? Indeed. Very good. So we like the question very much. One of the things, we will just go right to it. All of the technologies, all of the operating systems, all of the ways in which you have practices and ways to go to something, to shift something, could be a lockup. You could get stuck in any of them, and people do. There is the consciousness that needs to be brought to it to be the transcendence. So it literally is that we could say, we will be, maybe this won't be too offensive, we hope, to many people. We would say, but in truth, you can look at historical lines of connection in this timeline of what you understand to be the history of this world and the timelines of this world. You could say, well, the monks in 1700, or the monks in 2000, or the monks in 900, and we mean monks, or we mean priests or high priestesses, the people who would do meditation, prayer, devotion practices every single day. And that was their entire life. They gave their entire life to be that. Well, you could say that the truth of those kinds of things, even as seemingly sacred and purposeful as they were, there were millions of people who have lived and died that kind of life, who got stuck in the technology of it, meaning the practice of it, in the hopes for the higher light or the ascension or the path or the way or the reasons for doing it, and whatever reasons they were. And yet they had their heaviness, their darkness. They lost their own consciousness. They just did these things by rote, or they acted out in the silence and then on the shadow sides of life, because they were not balanced. There is a space and a place for all things. So these technologies, as you said, these ways of purposeful transformation, these ways of moving yourself through to higher lights and expansions, doing the work, making this become something that you get changed by. There's always the potential for the stuckness. There's always the potential for, we could say, the addictions, or you could always also say there's the potential for the loop where you could get stuck and you're really not growing, but you're staying in the thing for a very long time. And so that is why we would say it is always about consciousness, bringing yourself back to the present moment and feeling the totality of what's true. There are, and we will say, many beings, thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions probably, and maybe even billions of souls who have lived those lifetimes and who were just doing them and doing the things and doing the thing and doing the things, were miserably unhappy and lost more than ever. And so those beings you can imagine that to be the case. And that can give you a touchstone for any part of your own life. Where is it that you just need to shake yourself up and wake yourself up? It doesn't mean that if you are doing chanting that you will get to that place. It means if you are doing chanting and you are a monk, or you are a lama, or you are a person in the Western Hemisphere or the Eastern Hemisphere or the Northern Hemisphere or Western Hemisphere, all of the places on the earth that are potential for you to be in practice, you still have to wake yourself up. And if you get stuck, you have to become aware that you're even stuck. So these things becoming addictive and becoming ways of your patterning is still your responsibility to be the higher light within you that says, wait a minute, I'm lost again. I'm in the practice, but I have not been listening to the higher truths within me. Being able to listen to the higher truths within you is what a certain sense of what we were saying earlier has to do with breaking it all down to see what's true, to feel to the heart and soul of your being, and to be honest with that. There are so many beings who don't actively know how to do that. So even if we were saying, as you gave the example, if you were doing plant medicine, and there are millions of people who've done this in the history of man, right? You do these technologies and these plant medicines, and you do these healings, and you do these things, and you get into these patterns. And at a certain point, if you're honest, you need to be complete with that cycle, or at least give yourself a very big expanse to integrate and to step away and to find out what's the truth for you now without those things. All of that is on the table, is what we are saying. All of that is offered to you at this time as the potential for you to hold the mirror up and say, what's really real here? What's the truth of the truth of the truth of my being? And that is what we are saying about this potent time. We are saying that this time, if you are willing, If you hear us saying this to you, if you are open to what it is that we are offering in this reflection, we would say the reflection is saying, hold up the mirror and be as beyond rigorously honest as you can. Burn down which does not serve you, and be open to the potential of something more, even if the thing you thought that you were doing or working with or being or becoming is and was the greatest thing. See if it's still the greatest thing. See if it really lights up your heart and your soul. See if there's a pinch within you that is lying to yourself. See if you can ferret that out and then really bring that to the surface and look at that and say, there's that piece. I haven't wanted to look at it. It's there. I don't know how to look at it, but I will look at it. I'm knowing that I can look at it. I don't know how to look at it. I'll look at it. I can't look at it. I'll look at it. I'll look at it. I'll look at it. I can see that I have been lying to myself somewhere in here, in this particular instance, or in that particular situation, or in this way that I've been behaving, or this thing I've been saying I love or I don't love. Be honest with yourself, because it is, as we've always said, it is you and you. No one else will be transforming off of this body construct, but you and you. So it is you and you who has to be utterly, completely, and rigorously, absolutely honest with yourself about where you stand with anything. With plant medicine, with chanting, with prayer, with the divine feminine, divine masculine, Osira, with your lover, with your husband, your wife, your children, with your work, with your striving, with your art, with your money, with your ways of being, with your secrets and lies, with the ways in which you've pretended, with the ways in which you've been honest. Everything. Look and get really real with the truth of your being. This choice point ignites something so magnificent in holding that truth in your being. It's like you are forging a new rod of light within you. And if you cannot be honest with it, you will not have the sturdy light that you have come here for. Not to say you will miss the opportunity forevermore if you don't do this now exactly right. We are not saying that. We are just saying do this next level at the greatest degree you possibly can, and you'll forge something that is leading you forward in the kind of way that supports you in your liberation and empowerment as a soul embodied on the earth, that which you came here for. And only you and you know that. Does that help some of the question we are wondering? Very good, very good, very good, very good. Very good. Mm-hmm. So you're saying that how it plays out when it's not being fed. Is that what you mean? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, we can, and here's where it gets dicey. For some of our human friends, don't want to hear how it is. That's the tricky bit. The tricky bit is some of our human friends don't want to hear how it is that your plane of existence is participating. And and if we give it the generalized statement of everything is possible here, when you all think about that, you know that that is true. Everything is possible here. Every single thing, if it can be to a certain extent made manifest by action in the world of form, everything is a potential. And so you are living in experiences where all kinds of things energetically are being manifesting and manifested through the energetic situation here on your earth, in both reality of what is occurring and systems that are blooming. So if you unplug from things because you become aware of them, you draw your attention somewhere else. The question is, where do you put your attention? Where do you put that frequency of energy that is streaming out of you? Because you are an electromagnetic being. You are a vibrational conduit. You are a receiver and a transmitter, as we always say. And as you are in reception, you are taking stuff in, then you are churning it around, and then it is changing your own energetic signature. And then you are feeding it back out into something. So if you are feeding something that is a system that is not supportive of a whole society of love and a whole society of consciousness and a whole society or societies, or the earthly humankind, you could say, and all the ways in which beings are participating on this earth in a vibrationally high way of being that's supportive of all things positively, you are carrying out other agendas. You are unconsciously carrying out other agendas. That doesn't mean you came to live only in the one vibration of highest light. Now, that is the kind of what you would say the desire of many souls who come to the earth. But what the reason is for that desire is because if they carry that frequency, at least that's plugging into those who are wanting that too. So please understand that there is everything possible. That's what we're trying to say, that all the pieces and all the players participate in certain frequencies because there's all potential here. Eradicating all potential is, well, in a certain sense, what we would say is a long ways away on the earthly plane. It's not to say that you can't come to higher light, higher living, higher, more community-based, unity-based, love-based, light-based ways of operating together in societies and systems on the earth. We believe and see that that is absolutely potential and much of where you are going. And simultaneously, there will always be, to a certain extent, well, we can't say always, there is a potentiality for certain systems to still be in place, even while the higher light is growing and amplifying. So where you plug in your energy is by being conscious of what it is you are plugging into, you energetically uplift. If you pull your system, your energy plug out of a system, meaning, let's say, you are seeing things in the world that you do not like, the division, the hatred, the kind of abuses that are being done, the ways in which there is this, we will identify it in this moment as the idea of the separation between people so dramatically that it's pitting family member against family member. And that kind of agenda is what we will also now just give a blanket statement of as a machine. It's an intentional machine that is holding a frequency. Thank you, machine. Into the systems of the collective agreements. And here's one, here's another. We're just going to use two. Maybe we'll say 3 or 4. Here's a number of potentials that you can plug into. Most people are plugging into a number of systems. What we would say is if you unplug from some of those systems that are truly harmful, that you can see are the divisional ways of keeping this planet at war with themselves first, and then within and without into the systems. If you unplug and pull yourself out of that system, you will come to yourself and say, well, I was plugged into that because I was at war in here. It doesn't matter which comes first. Many people become aware of, if I unplug from the war inside myself, I will unplug from out there. So ultimately, we care not which way you get to it, but either way, if you unplug from the system that is creating the divisionary hatred, and separation idea as if the other is not you. You unplug that system and you come back to I and I are one. The other is that I am. And the more beings and people who begin to see and operate from that and then unplug from that bigger container, the machine we said, that machine won't have the energy, the amplitude, the frequency bandwidth of that which you are as an electromagnetic being plugging into that system. We say you can see it in many different ways. Think of it as a big spaceship, if you will, because we know you all tend to like these ideas, and just because it gives you a great example. So if there is a big hovering gray experience of a big spaceship, and you know that they are beaming and they are still aspects of parts of the whole, remember, and it is beaming down the separation energy, and you say, I don't want that separation energy. I don't want that in me, and I don't want that in the experience entirely. Unplugging that will lose the voltage to keep it going, because somehow the plugging in is directly correlated. Now, we aren't going to say to you any particular scientific, as you use the word, or quantum physics kinds of ways to talk about this. We are simply saying, as a human being, you plug into energetic grids of energy. They are pieces and streaming vortices of consciousness. Plugging in, believing that you don't do the hatred thing, is also an idea that limits you and actually plugs you into a system. Oh, well, the rest of the world is over there hating these people and that thing and this thing. I'm not doing that. I'm over here in my little world doing this thing and that thing and this thing. Meanwhile, you're judging that thing. That keeps a kind of line of connection to you too. So it is a very great challenge, because there are many steps within the awareness that comes into your being about the practices of that which brings you back to the truth of your being. You unplugging from one system means you have to recognize you're even plugged into any systems at all. And then it makes you question all of the systems that you're plugged into. That's why we say begin within. That's why all of the greatest teachers that have ever brought you anything that ever lasted that was of the higher dimensional frequencies of love and light and creation itself say to you, begin within, because the truth of your being knows the truth of your being. And in a sense, those frequencies cannot be sustained. They cannot keep feeding. They cannot keep multiplying if they are not being fed. So energetically, it is a call to ask yourself, how is it that you are feeding these systems? What is it? And that takes a lot of consciousness for you to break down those pieces. Let us see if we can give you more, and that would be more serving. Political systems. Oh, we don't know if we're wanting to go there. We're hearing people talking essentially about how there are the divisionary states of being. What is interesting, though, is that what is grabbing our attention more in this moment, there are so many factors. You are all dealing with your health and wellness and the frequencies and the bandwidths and the air and the water and the food. And in a certain sense, within, even if we were going to say specifically not just the whole world, but within this country where our beloved channel is residing, we would say there is a kind of, it's almost like an experiment of how it is that you funnel information and intention and frequencies and bandwidths. The energy is gathering to find out what can multiply more and more and more. And one of those things are the things that are energetically been under the surface the whole time for a very long time, energetically, because it's literally into the land where this earth frequency, word connection was built. So this country, as you would say. So you can think about it as similar to the idea of Rome. Rome was built up, right? And then it did indeed fall because it could not sustain what it was doing in and of itself. It was essentially from a certain standpoint, eating itself alive. it was built upon certain principles. And we're giving this example from your historical lines of understanding, and the same kind of principle is applying here. You were this country, as you would say it, and we don't mean to get in any way as the word is ideas of politicalness, but we just say it was founded and it was brought into being, incorporated a connection of the frequency on the earth about taking over everything. Ultimately, on some level, that is unsustainable. And for the consciousness to shift that is a very potential idea or construct in the vibrational frequency of what is happening on this planet, in this particular country even. And yet, how it was founded, how it was brought into being, all of that energy didn't just disappear. It has been brought in systematically, generation by generation, and it's building upon itself and building upon itself and building upon itself and building upon itself. And until more beings see that that is actually what is feeding and fueling the separation idea, even here, the darkness is trying to get its own attention. It is there because it is unsustainable. It is trying to come to the surface. Well, it's not trying to come. It is coming to the surface because it is unsustainable. And why we would say that is because there's more light energy on the plane or in this country or on the land, because it is time to release and purge those old ways of being. So it will either crumble completely, just as we would say Rome did unto itself, or it will crumble and there will be the ways in which energy frequencies will bring in the alignments to the higher light simultaneously. And we believe that that is what is possible. That is why we work so very hard in coming forward again and again and again to illuminate, to shine the light into hearts and minds of beings to know their own power and how it is you can sustainably hold your own frequency of light to plug into a system of higher dimensional aspecting to help and assist the earthly realm at this time, so that those old energies do in fact transmute themselves, just like we are always saying you get to and have the potential of transmuting your own darkness over and over and over into the alchemy of the golden light of that which is the higher beingness of the love quotient that you are. That is same and potential, not only for an individual, but also for the collective whole. So that is what we see as potential and possible. That is what we believe is going and happening, going to and happening now. And yet you are in the difficult passages. You are in the really hard parts of birthing the new realities of potential existence on the planet in consciousness. We're not certain even if that answers all the questions, because there's so many layers here with those, with the question, even when you ask it too about how it is to receive the codes and how it is to expand them into the experience. Well, this is, if we break it down again, it goes back to the moments of you being present with you, projecting energy and infusing the worldly systems with light. That is why there are those who are standing up so strongly in the form of saying that prayer works. They are saying that light work works. They are saying that if you believe it, so it shall be. They are saying that if you plug into the higher dimensional frequencies and emit like a transmitter, the good, the love, the higher vibrational frequencies of experience through and as you, that if you do that, you change the system. And we believe that that is absolutely, we see that it is so, that is so, that it is so. And so plugging in to the lower bandwidth frequencies, the frequencies of the old dimensions, the things that no longer work, the fear, the frustration, the separation idea, the death, the abuse. What we don't mean death. What we mean by death is the kind of darkness that would be the abusive, traumatic ways of being that keep systems in place. There is a new day. You are all trying to break free of a slave system. That means you have to become awakened. You have to stay awakened to the process, which means sometimes you fall back asleep to get woken up again. You go back to sleep to have the dream and say, oh gosh, I don't like this dream. I got to wake up. And in that waking, you see again the new day and you go, oh, that's right. This is what I'm here for. This is what I'm here for. You get reinvigorated because you come back to the center. But sometimes you have to fall down a little bit into the darkness and say, oh, that's right. This is not what I want anymore. This is not the vibration I want to plug into. I'm feeding a system I no longer want. And so you rise up again and you find your way out of those darker tunnels. These are the sort of metaphors for the bigger picture. And this is the collective agreements that are consciously and unconsciously happening on your earth. Being conscious of them means don't plug into the things you know you do not want. Even if it's similar to, we'll say it like this, similar to when you are driving down the freeway and there is an accident. Most people slow down so they can get a good look. As we know, many of you know this analogy. We would say, what would it be like if you just kept driving, did not look, didn't slow down if you didn't have to, just stayed at the right pace and just said prayers and love. And I send love and light and healing to that situation. I stay in my lane and I ignite the light here and I wish and I pray and I hold that person, those people, that situation in the highest light form. And then you trust that whatever is happening over there is what is meant to happen for whatever it is that is happening for those beings, but that which you are just sending so much love and healing and prayerfulness, knowing that the divine is working through and as all beings, no matter what it looks like. That is the tricky bit because you get all things on the earth. You get all things in these timelines. So what you choose to plug into and perceive is what your experience will be. That doesn't mean you sideswipe everything else and you don't pay attention. It just means you stay within and you say, what is it that serves the greatest glory for my living experience? Because if I add my greatest glory, we would say this. If there were 10 million people on this planet who said, I am absolutely serving the greatest glory of my life each and every day, and I am going to serve that in the best and the most high ways each and every day. If there were 10 million people who did that for 90 days straight, who did that for 1 year straight, your entire worldly constructs of being would change. That doesn't mean the change wouldn't be some destruction. That would mean that those things that do not serve, it's similar to what we said earlier about what are you done with? Those systems that you would be done with because you're serving the highest light and the greatest glory of your living through you and as your being, those systems that do not sustain that would die. They would crumble, and that would look like destruction. So please understand, it's the same. You have to go through some things that look like destruction of that which you thought was the greatest thing ever until you realized it was not. And then you come in to the heart of your being. Then you come to the world and the experience and say, oh my goodness, this was so much better than that thing we had before. You do that all day long. You do that year after year in your own personal life on a small scale and sometimes on very large scales. And we are saying collectively as humanity, you are consciously plugging in to do that at a great, 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 great level. So do not think for one little second that what you are doing and what you are contributing, no matter where you are on the path, is not part of a great, great whole and the great, great whole change. For it is a holy change, dear ones. It is. Does that help? Indeed. We have liked this very much, and we are recognizing the connection that our human friends are feeling in this moment. We are recognizing the way in which this is amplifying and getting your wheels turning. And so we would say, as you look about the world, as you go forward in this days and this month ahead, as this connection is always this monthly experience, we would say, remember, we are standing near. Remember, we are guiding. We are holding this vibration of the highest potentiality of love and light to the healing, awakening consciousness for humanity as a whole. And individually, we are attending to billions of people We are loving and shining our light just as much as you are doing that work too. You are amplifying the beaming spotlight of who and what you have come here to be. And you are collectively adding in to a new light upon this earth. The new light upon this earth is you all. It is the way in which you are transmuting and transforming. It is the way in which you are unplugging from the old system and plugging into the new systems. It is the way in which you are calling yourself up and saying, I won't stand for that inside myself any longer, which means I won't stand for that with you any longer, which means I love you so much that I won't play that. I won't play that small. I won't play that dark. I won't play that shadowy. I won't play that tight. I won't play that way. I will stand in the higher order of my being. The more you do that, the better practiced you get at it, the more it becomes the living embodiment of who you are. And then the world will magnetically attract those kinds of situations to you and for you. It is an amplification of your soul. You can be all that you have come here to be right now. And if by tomorrow or 10 years from now, you left your body in just the awareness that you get to be all that you have come to be right in this very moment, and you ramp that up into this field energetically, spending just 5 minutes amplifying that into this field, you have come to serve highest purposes. And that accelerates the soul. And that ignites the light on the planet. And you have come to be of service these ways in the totality of the game that you are playing together. And so when you look into another's eyes and you see another's heart, whether it be through this technology way of connecting or in what we would say the experience of the physicality of being with each other, you get the opportunity to remember the higher potentials. And when you see the beings at the lower potentials, not living in those places and not living in their heart and acting from their wounds and acting from the trauma and acting from the energies held in the land, from all the ways there has been so much abuses and overthrows, and the ways in which there has been so disrespectful, not loving ways of being in and for each other, we would say, when you see that, recognize you too have been there in your own personal world, in previous lifetimes, and even can be in any given moment. So allow yourself the love and compassion and remember, I see you, I have been you, I know you, and I send you so much love, and I shift out of energetically attuning to that, and I send that whole system so much more love than anything that I could ever plug into that would help. We would say that is the way in which you move forward into your life in these days and times, that you amplify yourself as the greatest experiencer and experience of light and love. And then you extend that out in any and every small and big way you possibly can. And you will be meeting that which you have come to meet. You will be experiencing that which you have come to experience. You will be magnetizing that which you came to experience and magnetize. This is the way that you are consciously revolutionizing the new platforms of the new dawn of the new times. We are so excited for this time. You are just pushing yourself through these gateways, these initiations, these transformational times of being on the earth. This is leading to the next aspects of your highest growth. And being right where you are in the present moment is all there is. You create every future moment of goodness, greatness, glory, light construct, love, or the opposite of that, with this now moment. This now moment is your choice point every single moment. Your choice point of being in the presence with the presence is creating anything you truly desire. And that is where you begin. I desire here. I desire now. I desire here. I desire now. I desire what? Now. I desire what? Here. These are the choice point questions, and these are the declarations that create that future. This is what you are doing together. We are hoping that we could bring forth a picture, a greater and wider, broader picture of the truth of your living. It is so magnificent It is so potentially magnificent. Call, pull, receive, allow that in this now moment as the presence of the presence, and that will birth the new day, the new dawn, the new light, the new world. That's what you are doing. You are electromagnetic creators of life. Remember that. Plug into that. Be that in this now moment. And so we give all of this with so much joy, with so much love, with so much of the awareness of what is in this now moment being created. We are always honored, overjoyed. Thank you, dearest one, for the questions. We loved it. We loved it. We loved it. We love it. We love it. And we look forward, as always, to even more. We bid you the most loving, magical, and happy adieu. Hi. Hi. Okay. Just taking a moment because that felt so big, and that felt great and big. I just feel super, super huge right now. And I haven't channeled with I just feel like I'm channeling the divine feminine so much that it felt really huge, just in a completely different way to channel Osiris. So, I'm so blessed. So thank you all so much for showing up and being a part of this, for me, for them, for us, for the entirety of our transformation on the earth that's happening, and for this time and for this month. And I hope it was helpful. Wow. Thank you. I'm so glad it was helpful. I love it when I see that kind of stuff. Thank you. It's such a great confirmation. I'm not doing this alone. Thank you so much. Oh, and thank you. Thank you all for being here. I'm so grateful you're here. I hope this served you and helps you for the month, for the Lionsgate. And I just love you all, and I appreciate you all, and I look forward to so much more. Okay? Have a wonderful month of August. I know I'll see so many of you in the Divine Feminine Golden Temple. And for those of you who are watching on the replay who are not in the Golden Temple, you can always join in our next round. And I just am so grateful that this is our time, and this is our connection, and that I get to be with you, and we are in this life together. So I send you all so, so much love. And I'll talk to you soon. Happy August, and happy, blessed Lionsgate. Love you so much. Bye for now.